Hey everybody, it's Ernest Hemingway Day here at Short Stories class, and since we're doing Hills Like White Elephants, I thought I'd come out to the train station that is conveniently located, an easy walk from my house, since this story is set actually on the platform of a train station. So behind me is the train station from what was an electric rail line that ran from, I think, 1898 to 1929 from Rensselaer, Albany area down to Hudson. And now it's a bike and pedestrian trail, so you might see some people going by. But that, in fact, is a train station that is no longer functioning, but that's why we are out here today. And of course, it's a really nice day. So Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway, it's hard to overemphasize. I can't overemphasize what a giant of American literature Hemingway was, maybe is, I'm not sure, but definitely was, if not still is. Hemingway was from an era, the 1920s, 30s, 40s, even 50s, of the celebrity author. Hemingway's, what he did was followed by people all over the country, like we follow the Kardashians today. He was a mega celebrity, a best-selling author, very inventive in his very short style. The story is sort of nice, representative of his short sentences. And the thing with Hemingway's style, it's the iceberg style. You know, in an iceberg, you only see 10% of it. The other 90% is underwater. Well, with Hemingway, you only see 10%, a little more than that, but you only get a hint of what's going on. The rest of it is below water, and Hemingway gives us enough so we can figure that out, but it's very sparse. That what he gives us is very, very sparse. So this story is a good example of that. But Hemingway, a larger-than-life figure. He went on African safaris. He had 4 wives. He lived in Cuba, then back to the United States, but a huge figure in American literature. As far as celebrities, he's probably top 5 of authors who were well known in their time period. Okay. So, you know, an interesting guy. You know, he always had one wife lined up before he left the one that he was currently with. Most of them all knew each other. They were mostly all good to his kids. He had 3 sons. And Hemingway was a little bit of a troubled soul. He had a lot of concussions, some mental illness in his family, and he did eventually kill himself in Ketchum, Idaho, when in 1961. It's remarkable the life he led, that he lived as long as he did, honestly. Especially with a tremendous amount of alcohol that he drank in his lifetime. So Hills Like White Elephants, so let's just cut right to the core of the plot, but I don't think it's what the story is about, okay? So this is a nice example. Here's the core of the plot. It's an abortion. They're talking about abortion. The man in the story, the American, wants the woman, the girl, to get an abortion. She does not want to get an abortion. I did not see that the first time I read the story, so if you're sitting there going, duh, how did I miss that, Professor Berninger? Hey, we all miss it. Well, unless you're really smart like some of you. But the story is not really about abortion. It doesn't have a stance on it, you know, the controversy about it. But the story is about a couple. A man and a woman who are going in very different directions, hence the train station setting, right? Hence the train station setting. And unlike this train station, the train station in the story has tracks on both sides of it, And one side is very, very fertile, like a pregnant woman, right? It's described as having fields of grain, the river through the trees. It's very fertile. The other side of the station is barren. It's almost desert-like. So those are the 2 choices these people have to make. And since she's pregnant, they can't just wait. I mean, they're at a train station in the middle of nowhere, right? You can't just sit and wait like that, because guess what? The cells are splitting. She's going to have a baby. They have to decide. They have to choose a direction of their relationship. And that's where we are in this story. It's two people, you know, fighting for a direction in a relationship. The man wants to continue to just travel around and try different drinks, not settle down at all. She's ready to settle down, and of course the baby is sort of forcing, the fetus is forcing the issue. But when you read the story, and go ahead, read it again. It's only, what, 3.5 pages long? And then you'll see everything that I've been talking about. There's tension right away at the beginning of this story. Let's drink beer. Oh, that's always nice. So they're looking across the valley. They look like white elephants, she said about the hills. I've never seen one. The man drank his beer. No, you wouldn't have. I might have. Just because you say I wouldn't have doesn't prove anything. So right away, you don't need to be a psychologist to realize there's a lot of tension between this man and this woman. And they go on to talk about things like, as the woman says, especially all the things you've waited so long for, right? Like a baby, like settling down, not just traveling and living an itinerant life. And he subtly tried to talk her into the abortion. It's really an awful simple operation, Jig. She looked at the ground the table legs rested on, as if she's on the table getting the procedure. She's not, it's at a train station, but this is the imagery. I know you wouldn't mind it, Jig. That's his nickname for her. Jig, like a jigger, like you would measure or mix alcohol in. It's really not anything. It's just to let the air in. The girl did not say anything. I'll go with you and I'll stay with you all the time. They just let the air in, and then it's all perfectly natural. Okay? So this is his case for the abortion. It's natural, it's not a big deal. They just let the air in, and that's how abortions were performed at the time, although I don't know a lot about this topic. She finally speaks up. Then what will we do afterward? We'll be fine afterward, just like we were before, says the man. Now let's be honest here, and I think this couple, abortion or no abortion, things are not going to be like they were before she got pregnant, no matter which choice the couple makes. And I really don't think we know at the end. We'll get around to that in part 2. They are not going back to the way, they can never be the way they were before the abortion. Things are probably going to be worse. Maybe it just is not going to be the same. This is a relationship changer one way or the other. She's being ironic, you know, and afterward they were also happy. He knows lots of people who have had it. Well, if you don't, you know, and then he says, if you don't want to, you don't have to. I wouldn't have you do it if you don't want to, but it's perfectly simple. So, you know, you just want to definitely kick him in the shins. And by the way, with much of Hemingway's writing, maybe all of it, it's very autobiographical. He wrote this story while he was on his honeymoon with his second wife, and it's about really about his first wife getting pregnant and that sort of bringing an end to their relationship in some way. So interesting material for him to be writing while on his honeymoon with his second wife. So he tries to convince her, and he says, well, if you don't want to do it, and then he throws in, but it's perfectly simple, etc., etc. And then she gives in to him, sort of on the terms that he was unwilling to accept. All right, so this is the thing, and you know, maybe some of you have been involved in relationships and you have arguments about things. And one of you gives in. Oh, okay, well, fine. We'll do it your way. Well, it's not my way. I think it's just the best way. So, you know, that's one way that couples argue. I don't think it's a healthy way to argue. You give in, but you give in under terms that you know the other person won't accept, even though they're getting their way. So here's how she does that. Then I'll do it because I don't care about me. All right, little dramatic. What do you mean I don't care about me? Well, I care about you. Oh yes, but I don't care about me. And then I'll do it, and then everything will be fine. The tension here, people, I mean, oh, I don't want you to do it if you feel that way. Well, he wants her to do it, but she knows, so Not pretty. The girl stood up and walked to the end of the station. Across on the other side were fields of grain and trees along the banks of the Ebro. Far away beyond the river were mountains. The shadow of a cloud moved across the field of grain, and she saw the river through the trees. So she looks to the fertile side. She walks to the other side of the train station and looks to the fertile side. The fertile side. Yeah. And they're talking, and they're not really getting anywhere. And they're just kind of going in circles. They're talking about it without really talking about it. It's very painful, right? It's very painful, but pretty typical of a couple that has a major topic to discuss, and neither of them is really willing to take it head on. All right, what about, people always sort of ask about the title of this story, Hills Like White Elephants. White elephant symbolizes, it can be one of two things. A white elephant can be a burden. So in some countries, a white elephant would be sacred, right? In India, a white elephant is sacred. Elephants are used for work, right? And a white elephant, though, is so sacred you can't work it. So if someone gives you a white elephant, there are only two things you can do with a white elephant. What two things are the only things you can do with a sacred white elephant? That's right, feed it and scoop up the manure. And elephants eat a lot and they produce a lot of manure. So a white elephant is a burden, even though it's sacred. So to the man in the story, the white elephant is something that's going to be a burden. To the woman, it is sacred. Another variation of white elephant symbolism is it's something that has value to one person but not someone else. When I was a kid in elementary school, we'd have a white elephant sale day, and every kid would bring in a toy or something that the kid didn't want anymore, and then other people, you could buy the toy for like a nickel or something like that. I think it was a nickel, not much money. So a white elephant, the baby is a white elephant. It is sacred to her, but to him it is a burden. It has value to her, but not really to him. It's just going to be a burden. So that's where the title comes from, and it obviously is what is on their mind. That's why they say the hills look like white elephants. And they could be snow-capped, I guess, and a hill could look like a white elephant. All right, so we will pick up Hills Like White Elephants Part 2 in a moment.